Okay, I think we will get going again. We're kicking off a very interesting afternoon, not to imply that what has come before has not been interesting, but again, we have a wonderful speaker coming up who has her pulse on what's happening at a wide range of restaurants. We're really pleased to welcome Anita Jones-Mueller, who is president of Healthy Dining Finding, a company that not only helps consumers find healthier choices, but also helps restaurants develop and market better products. Some of the fastest growth in the restaurant sector comes from concepts that are emphasizing fresh whole foods and clean labels, as we heard earlier today. But one way diners are finding out about these options and about the healthier options that are at some of the more mainstream restaurants and brands is through Healthy Dining Finder. So Anita has just promised me in the break, she even has some things that I don't know about that she's going to tell you about, so it's going to be a very special presentation. Thank you, Anita.
Thank you. And I am super excited to be here and to be a part with all of you of this next frontier for whole grains. And we're all here to amplify the momentum of whole grain availability and whole grain consumption, which also brings healthier cuisine and more plant-based diet meals and transparency for the restaurant industry. And so working together to increase whole grain consumption will in tandem decrease and maybe even eradicate the white, refined, starchy, non-nutrient carbs, which has sort of been a personal goal of my life, especially for my husband and my two daughters. But that will also make a big impact on reducing obesity, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and those are the leading killers in our nation and also the source of skyrocketing healthcare costs. But most important, it will also spur eating to be at our best, and eating for health, vitality, strength, and feeling good. So this is really close to my heart as a mom, as a wife, and also as president of our company. We work with about 300 restaurant companies across the United States, about 60,000 restaurant locations in all things nutrition. And I like to say I started my career when I was 10. My dad went on a diet. He wanted to lose 10 pounds. And so he bought a little calorie counting book. So it was my job every night to listen to what he ate, write it down, then look it up in the calorie counting book and tell him his score. And so I was always telling, well, Dad, you shouldn't have eaten the potato chips, you should have eaten the apple. And so even back when I was 10, I was doing almost the same thing I'm doing now, telling restaurants, this is what you should serve. So we have, here we go. Our company really works on both, we say supply and demand. So by helping restaurants to prosper, and that means to really bring in profits through all things nutrition. So I have a whole team of registered dietitians who are doing that calorie counting plus much more. And we really work to make this really good for restaurants. We think that is truly the key, that restaurants have to have that profit behind the healthful items so that they will continue to offer them. So we'll come back to that at the end. And so then also by the availability, so then providing consumers with science-based tools and resources so that they know what to order when they go to restaurants. I started right when I got out of graduate school. I started working with some physicians, and so this was 25 years ago, and I was doing counseling with their patients who had lifestyle-related health problems, so heart disease, diabetes, and I would help them count their calories, find their sodium, etc., and they would always say, what do I eat when I eat out? And I knew that it was really hard to know what was at restaurants and how it really added up and how that applied to health. And so I started working with some restaurants. I'd knock on their door and say, can I analyze some of your menu items for calories, fat, sodium? And some restaurants said, no way. We would never want you to do that. But then restaurants started saying, yes, I think that's a good thing for us. So again, way back when we started putting together books. So we had a Healthy Dining in San Diego book, a Healthy Dining in Los Angeles book, and a Healthy Dining in Orange County book. And then in 2005, we wrote a proposal to National Institutes of Health, and we were funded to expand these books through an internet site, through Healthy Dining Finder, which I'll show you how that works in just a few minutes. But that really got us into nationwide restaurants. We partnered with the National Restaurant Association. And so since then, our team of registered dietitians work one-on-one with all of these different companies in all sorts of all things nutrition projects. So we, you probably know about menu labeling that's coming. So that's, everybody knows that it's calories on the menu or menu boards, but it's actually nutrition information for every single menu item that needs to be available at every single location all the time. So we're getting restaurants ready for that. We do a lot of allergen and gluten identification. More and more restaurants are now asking us, tell us how we can have a clean plate. Tell us what additives we have, what additives are good, what additives are bad. Menu labeling, compliance, and consulting. Then the other thing that we've done with restaurants is helped them to organize that. So again, this new menu labeling legislation is going into effect May 5th, 2017. It's been delayed many years. It was actually part of the 2010 Healthcare Act. So it's sort of buried in that rule book. And it's been put off for a lot of different reasons, but it does look like the May 5th, 2017 is going to be the date. And you've probably already seen, again, calories on some menus. But we help restaurants, so since this is really pretty new to the restaurant industry, and again, in 2017, first time ever that restaurants have to have these calories on the menu and then this nutrition information available upon request, we're helping them to find ways to keep that all organized. So we've really developed a cloud-based storage system so that they can keep their information organized, keep their recipes organized, keep their product labels organized, keep their nutrition information organized. And then our team of dietitians also starts assigning attributes to each menu item, each ingredient. So is this vegan? Is this vegetarian? Is this whole grains, 100% whole grains, more than 50% whole grains? So we have this whole database now of all of these restaurant ingredients and menu items. And then that really helps restaurants then as they make changes to brands, or if they change a brand of tortilla, that could really change the calories and the sodium, the carbs, etc. So then we can easily update that. And then it's a perfect time. So once restaurants really see all of their numbers and how all of those come to be, where we can work with them and now say, well, these are some ways you could reduce the sodium. These are the ways that you could add some whole grains to make it healthier. Can you switch out this white rice and offer brown rice? So that's really we're really finding that restaurants are becoming very, very interested in how they can make their numbers look better, what their guests are asking for. So it's a really great consulting time. And we've developed a product that we call NutriStrategy that we'll be offering restaurants. And so then that's really a very thorough assessment rating of the restaurant's whole environment. So what they serve, what they don't serve, how they add up for kids' meals, for allergens, for whole grains. And so then they have a whole rating system of how they add up and how they can increase their traction really in healthfulness over the next 3 to 5 years. So we kind of put together a strategy system for them, which is important, and that's been brought up today, is that a lot of current customers don't want a big flip, a big change, and so restaurants have to really tread lightly in keeping their current customers happy, maybe adding a little bit more healthfulness to their meals, but then also really starting to attract and satisfy the millennials and what looks like a much healthier generation coming. So once we work with restaurants on all of that, then we really understand where they're at as far as healthfulness. And so that's what Healthy Dining Finder is all about. It's a search of healthful menu items at restaurants. So there's qualifying criteria. The menu items have lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and unsaturated fats, and then meet a calorie, a saturated fat, and a sodium criteria. Sodium's pretty high for what most health advocates would recommend or want, but that's really where the restaurant industry is right now, and we needed to have some items on Healthy Dining Finder. So I think the FDA's definition of low sodium is 480 milligrams, and I'm not sure that there's even one menu item out there at any restaurant that has that. So a little bit higher, but we also have a sodium savvy program, so a little sodium savvy icon. So anything that's 750 milligrams or below is called sodium savvy. And you can personalize your search on the website so that you can find those lower sodium items if you'd like, or if you're watching fiber, you can put that in. So this is really the largest ever restaurant industry initiative to provide a search engine for guests to find these menu items that they offer. And then a lot of the restaurants have their healthy dining choices on their website. Some on their menu, but in general it's on their website. And so here's some items that you'll find on Healthy Dining Finder. This is the quinoa salad at Zoe's Kitchen, and there are about 175 locations in 17 states of Zoe's. And then this is called Omega Me Crazy Salmon, served at MyFit Foods. They have 56 locations in Arizona, California, Illinois, Oklahoma, and Texas. And I just read that the Farm Bureau is actually funding them to grow. So I guess you'll see a lot more of those. Asian quinoa and rice bowl at Aruga's. In Aruga's, there are 11 locations in Connecticut and Pennsylvania. Looks really great. And Denny's, the Fit Fair banana pecan breakfast with whole grain wheat pancakes. The vegetarian burger at Burger Lounge. So this is, they're based in San Diego, 15 locations in California. Organic quinoa, brown rice, roasted corn, zucchini, garbanzo beans, carrots, and a hint of chipotle. Really yummy. Samurai Sam's, they have 26 locations in 10 states, so they offer brown rice. California Pizza Kitchen, so this came up this morning, the whole grain crust. Every pizza you can order with whole grain crust. And they also have a really awesome organic, quinoa and arugula salad at California Pizza Kitchen. This is Ab on Pan, their superfood blueberry chia hot cereal. 343 locations in 28 states. This is Carl Strauss Brewing Company. They have this tabbouleh and melon salad, 10 locations in California. And Corner Bakery, quinoa pico salad, 197 locations in 24 states. So you see the color, the bright, the flavor, the texture, just really, really looks so inspiring. And then there's kids items. So whole grain spaghetti at Carrabba's. So we have a Kids Live Well program, which are healthier kids' choices. So more and more whole grains within the kids' choices. And this is at Silver Diner. So they are based in Maryland, Virginia, and New Jersey, 15 locations. And I also just read that they've received funding to grow their number of locations. So their chef is super passionate about healthy meals for kids, and this is their turkey sliders with whole grain buns. You can see how really great it looks. So these can really be the menu items of today, of tomorrow, never to see empty carb grains and starches again. This is a newsletter that we every week we have a newsletter that goes out with a different theme. So this came out earlier this month, so you can see all sorts of articles, generally by our dietitians or by partners. So we usually have some articles by the Whole Grains Council. This was all about whole grains, so you can see don't give up on grains. We did some swapping common carbs, white carbs, for the nutritious whole grains, piccata with whole grain linguine recipe, skinny on eating more whole grains. And then as you scroll down, you'll find some more, the what, where, why, to find whole grains. So really work to inspire, educate, but mainly inspire people that really eating healthy can taste really, really great and be beautiful. So within the restaurant industry, I see that there's really two main forces right now that are really in our favor to increase the momentum for whole grains and healthier cuisine. So one is the menu labeling compliance, as I talked about. And two is really the changing consumer. So we're now finding that more and more consumers, and restaurants will totally agree on this one, that, Jen's a vegetarian and Mark's an athlete, and he wants a lot of calories, but he wants high-quality calories, and Julia is no soy, no dairy, no more than 60 grams of carbs, and there's John with diabetes, and Marge with high blood pressure, and Tina's on a diet, and Noah has life-threatening nut allergies. And then there's eating clean and no gluten, and Jasper wants to know if it's organic or locally sourced. And so what's a restaurant to do? Where did they, 2, 3, 4 years ago, most of their customers could care less. And in fact, they would say, we'll do the healthy dining program, we'll be on Healthy Dining Finder, but we know nobody really orders those items, or it might be one out of, 100 people that want to eat healthy. And so now they're really seeing this whole change, and what do they do, and what does a guest do? How do any of those people find what they want to find at a restaurant? And sort of state of the art, you've probably all looked at a nutrition chart on restaurants' websites, so this is sort of almost as good as it gets. Some restaurants have a calculator, so you could spend a lot of time trying to calculate and find what you're looking for. But we have, super excited to give you a sort of a sneak peek. We have been working on some really groundbreaking technology that we will be launching with about 15 restaurant companies right after the first of the year. And we think this is really going to be a game changer in how people find information at restaurants, how they look at a menu, how they order. And it really puts you in charge of finding what you want to see at a restaurant. And so it looks like this. It's called a personalized menu platform. So this will be on restaurants' websites, on their phone apps, mobile apps, and also most of the restaurants are putting tablets into their restaurants for at least a couple tablets for the menu labeling. So again, they have that nutrition information available. So you'll be able to you could click on the by nutrients, and you'll have these sliders that so you can put the calories at 600 and the carbs at 50 and the protein at 50, or I think that's 20. So you can really set whatever you want to see as far as nutrients. Or you can, if you have allergens, so you can set the nutrients. So if you want below 600 calories and below 60 grams of carbs, and you have soy and dairy allergies or sensitivities, you could click on those, and then you do go, and it comes up with a whole menu for you at that restaurant. So it has, in general, photos of those items, and then each photo has the whole set of complete nutrition profile, all of the allergens, sometimes ingredient labels, different attributes, whether it's clean, locally sourced, things like that. If you're just interested in a vegetarian diet or meatless, organic, locally sourced, and then those best nutrition choices are really, we're working with partners. And so for, say, the best for diabetes, we're working with the American Diabetes Association. So those will all be American Diabetes Association approved meals for diabetes, which are really healthful meals. And in fact, that's probably the best diet to follow, because it really has a whole balance of calories, protein, carbs, and healthy fats. Best for fitness and athletics, so that's menu items that, again, have that balance but a little bit higher in calories. The healthy dining recommended choices are those choices on Healthy Dining Finder, so those items that meet the calorie, saturated fat, and sodium criteria, and then also are really emphasizing these healthful attributes. And so each menu item will also have these icons. So we have about 15 icons. And so we'll have a whole grains icon, 100% whole grains, and then 50% plus whole grains. And then there's other icons for, having lean protein, having fruits and vegetables, having omega-3s. So all different types of icons so that you can really, see how your meal adds up. So really excited about it. I think restaurants are really excited about it because it kind of pulls everything together for them, where they don't have to worry about the chart anymore, and instead this is really giving the customer a way to find the menu items that meet their needs. So wanted to sort of end with, I have I just love my career and our company and all that we get to do. And I've had the opportunity to meet with some of the biggest CEOs in the restaurant industry of the biggest chains, and even real recently with this new personalized menu platform, and get to know them, get to understand the restaurant industry. I've been able to meet with chefs and chief marketing officers and branding officers and just really understand where they're at and what really matters to them. How can we make these healthful changes within the restaurant industry and really get them to stick? I've been able to go to the White House 5 different times, and I met with the First Lady once and then her team. And I was featured in More Magazine with the First Lady, and have to read what it, as one of 5 women working wonders to help this generation of kids. And then also I have been able to work with the Department of Defense, and they are really want to disrupt the food environment within the military. So on bases, both the dining facilities and the restaurants, the fast food restaurants on base, and then also the restaurants within their communities, because they're really seeing a big problem with military personnel as they, continue to work and get a little bit older. They have the same rates of heart disease, cancer, diabetes as the overall population does. And they're also finding that the kids growing up, when they're 18, they're not meeting the standards that they need them to recruit them into the military. So at the very highest level, they're really working to make a difference, really change the food environment, both on base and off base. And I really see that. I'm working with Brian Wansink on this, if you know him, in the mindless eating, which I'll get to in just a minute. I'm really thinking that that's almost like a blue zone. Do you know blue zones? It's really like a blue zone experiment now that we can really, work within these communities of the military and their families and really help them to increase their healthfulness and what they eat. And that can really spread throughout our nation. And so taking all of that into consideration, I think that looking back at the past, that we've all been, especially in restaurants and quick serve, guilty of mindless eating. And that's Brian Wansink, if you know of him and some of his literature. So we're at restaurants and we're either hungry and in a hurry, or we're partying, celebrating, having a good time, or we're out to splurge, or we're discouraged, and so we're just overeating, whatever. But there's a lot of mindless eating. And there's not a lot of information, so there's not a lot of discipline as we eat out. And so what that does is all of those menu items that we just mindlessly choose are on the sales reports of restaurants. And that's really their everything. They look at that sales report, and these top items that sell, they're going to continue those, and they're going to add to those. And so the healthier items have always been at the bottom, and still really are. And so we need to really switch that mindless eating to mindful eating and really get people excited about eating healthy, excited about the taste of eating healthy, about the looks, about how good it feels to eat healthy, so that those items really raise to the top. And that will truly stick. That's what restaurants need. They will absolutely do the right thing in a way, and they will add some healthy items in a way. But the way that it's really going to stick is that we're all choosing those mindful items and sharing those on Pinterest and through your social media, and really telling your friends about those items, telling your friends about whole grains and why it's important in your family. And really each one of us can make a big impact in changing that mindless eating to mindful eating, so that those items can be higher up on that sales report for a restaurant company. And that will really make the difference. So that's the supply and the demand. It really takes both working at the same time. Restaurants aren't going to offer healthy things just because it's a good thing to do if people aren't ordering them. And so what the restaurant offers is really what then also creates the demand. And so again, right now it's perfect timing. I've been doing this for 25 years, and there has been huge change, really a lot of traction in the last few years, and I think we all feel that. But I have just recently been able to talk with some of the big CEOs at restaurant chains, and they're still skeptical. They still don't see that those items are rising to the top of the sales reports. There's more items, and there's more people ordering them, but it's still a long ways from where we need it to be. So I guess I just wanted to really urge you to do what you can do. It really takes all of us to really move this forward, and we can't sit back and say, oh, it's good, everybody's starting to eat healthy, everybody's talking about it, because really the restaurant industry isn't seeing that yet. And definitely smaller brands are coming up where they're offering healthier choices, so we have to really just keep pushing it all forward the best that we can all do. So I really challenge you to ask at the restaurant for whole grains. Make sure you're ordering the whole grains items. Look on Healthy Dining Finder. Find those healthier choices. Go to those restaurants. Tell them that you're there because they have healthy choices, and that's really important to you. It's important to your family. It's important to your coworkers. And we can all make a difference and make this stick. Thank you.
Any questions for Anita? Anybody out here? Yes. Pat.
So I'm wondering how the menu platform would work for like LTOs and special menu items.
Yes, so it's actually going to be very easy, and that's not required for the menu labeling, so restaurants don't have to have nutrition information for those limited time offers. But for this platform, if they want to add them, then we just put it into our database, and then it's just an easy electronic transmission, so they should be on there.
And if questioners could identify themselves, please.
Hi, I love your website. I've been using it for many years now
thank you.
as a dietitian. But my question now is, we need to really encourage our public to, order these whole grain options available. But what can the restaurants do also to promote them more? Because many times the consumers don't know that the whole grain rice is available and all these kind of things. So what can they do to really promote them in a nice way?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because I often find, this particular one will give you whole grain pasta on demand, but they sure don't say it on the menu anywhere clearly.
Right. That's really the question, right? And I guess, again, working with restaurants, it's a very fast-moving, they're super busy, super chaotic, always fighting fires. So it just hasn't been important to them. And I think, again, just the more that we ask questions, do you have whole grain bread? Do you have whole grain pasta? I want the whole grain pizza. And as they see that, again, going up on that sales report, that will be what makes the difference. And I think just also really recognizing restaurants. I saw that you have this. That's really great. Looking for it on their website. When we launch this personalized menu platform, that will also have a lot of information. It will kind of pull together all of the health initiatives. And our dietitians are looking for that. So we will definitely make sure that it's in that personalized menu platform so it's easier to find.
Any other questions? Or are we good? We are good because that was a great talk. Thank you very much, Anita. It's interesting as I come back up here. I told somebody about this yesterday. My husband goes beyond saying, oh, gosh, do you possibly have whole grain pasta? He goes into restaurants where there's no indication. And I didn't train him to do this. He's doing it voluntarily. He goes in and he says, oh, and I'd like the pepperoni pizza, and I'd like that on a whole grain crust, please. And they go, oh, we don't have a whole grain crust. He says, what? You don't have a whole grain crust? Like he's shocked. And he often gets a lot of attention that way. So try that one. See if you can do the Lou Harriman approach. Anyway, so the rest of our afternoon is really going to focus on how do we get these dishes put together? What goes into them? We at Oldways have always believed that talking about food is all well and good, but we need to put it in your mouth when you're doing that at the meals. They've been working out okay for you? All right, good. But we also need to do that middle step. how do we get it made, what do the chefs do, what are the ingredients, what are the issues. And each of our 5 demos this afternoon are going to not just show us a dish, but talk about the grains they're using, why they chose those particular grains, why they go particularly well with certain ingredients and maybe not with others. So we're going to learn a lot from some real hands-on experts about how people figure out how to make whole grains as delicious and wonderful as possible. So we had our first chef demo last night, just to give you a taste of how this was going to work. And now we will dedicate the rest of the afternoon to the series of demos. We handed out that recipe handout yesterday, and you should still have that if you want to take some notes. And those who came this morning, we gave it to you when you registered. We're going to do our first hour on baking with flours, and we're going to get a look at using rye and triticale from Ardent Mills chef, and then we're going to get a look at using sprouted grain flours from To Your Health Sprouted Flours chef, and then we're going to look at intact grains for the next hour with a presentation from Bob's Red Mill and Joel Schaefer on millet, and then one on sorghum with Sharon Palmer, and then we will finish up with pasta pairing. So we've got a great afternoon with some wonderful chefs, and as we saw yesterday, we'll be showing on the screen what they're doing so everybody will be able to see. And we're going to start with Dan Marciani,